This is Tiger Cats postgame on the Ticats Audio Network.
Yet another heartbreaker. Boy, that one hurt. That one hurt. Montreal 29, Hamilton 28 in a fourth quarter. One to remember. Lots to dissect. What went wrong? What went right? Lots to discuss. Bubba O'Neill along with Mike Daly. Let's take you through what we're going to do. We'll talk to Coach O, as brought to you by Access Storage, a player from the locker room. We'll present to you our performer of the game as presented by Hercules Tire, right on our strength. And then we'll roundtable it up with the boys. We'll all get together here and discuss what on earth happened. And La Belle Province in the final seconds of this contest. Unbelievable. Mike, I don't know. We've had some really wild fourth quarters. This has been the theme in the Canadian Football League all season long with these final last-second twists and turns and results. But, boy, when you're on the losing end of them, I don't know how the Tiger Cats walk off the field this one. How do you – I mean, you've been there. What does this feel like?
Oh, this is heartbreaking because when you look back at the story of this game, that first half was so good. They were dissecting the defense. They were driving the ball. The defense was playing really well. And then you just kind of move over to the second half and, have a pretty good third quarter. But, and I know we continue to talk about it, Bubs, but I mean, that fourth quarter was just, it was a disaster of a drive after a disaster of a drive. And I mean, to get the life back with the Seth Small kick, right, to go up and then just give up two easy completions that really put them into field goal range. And I'm almost speechless the way this keeps happening with the Ticats.
Well, in that situation in the final drive there that led to the Cote 48-yard field goal, we saw a bit of both the different types of thoughts. We did see more of a prevent defense rushing for. The big play also comes on an all-out blitz package by the Alouettes and a little run after the catch. And if there was a theme in this one, a little bit for the Ticat defense that we could point to, missed tackles were just critical in this contest.
Yeah, you look at two really key drives, and they were all based off missed tackles. The one drive early on, I believe in the second quarter or the third quarter, where it ended with that screen touchdown, right? There was a missed tackle pinning them deep in their own end to get them out. And then the very next play was a screen touchdown. And then you move to the fourth quarter, and with the all-out blitz, I like the call because the sitting back wasn't working very well. You all-out blitz, but then you just got to make the tackle right there. It forces them to get another first down, waste another 10 seconds. But with that missed tackle, puts them immediately into field goal range. You see they just run the ball, kill the time, and then have a makeable kick at the end of the game.
Let's go back a possession prior to that, in the sense that set up the Seth Small 51-yard career-long field goal to give the Tiger Cats a 28-26 advantage. We did see, well, I would say, a very attack-oriented offense all game long from the Tiger Cats. A lot of it successful. But in that final drive, in the last two plays that led to the third down kick, we saw a screen pass, actually a run on first down, and a screen pass, which kind of wasn't what the Ticats were doing all game, or at least what they were successful with, where you're not surprised to see Schultz go downfield with the ball, or at least a play that would get the ball into better field goal position, at least for Seth Small.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of the idea that Coach O and Tommy had was, I feel they felt comfortable that they were in field goal range with Seth right then, and just kind of wanted to make sure that they don't put the ball in harm's way with turnover. So hence the simple run and then maybe a bubble pass that we saw Tim White make a guy miss and end up getting some yards. But I think that was a ball security thing. 51-yard kick is pretty long and to be confident about. But like Andy said, he had 51-plus yards. He put that right down the middle. So I think that was just a conservative keep the ball safe in those last two plays.
Let's go four wide with the roundtable. RJ Broadhead and Andy Fantuz join us. Andy, we've just talked about this with Mike. I mean, you and I, we've been in all of us for these broadcasts for these heartbreaking losses, and I don't know. I mean, you're out on the road, tough situation, hostile crowd. You've done everything. You kick a 51-yard field goal to take the lead, and in some way, you've had the victory snatched away from you. This is a killer.
Well, I think Mike hit it on the head with uncharacteristic missed tackles in the open field by the Ticat defense led to the biggest plays of the game for Montreal. And as an offensive player, talking about that last drive, I would love to see them get that first down and drain out the clock and then kick with no time left and really control the game and not, this has come back to haunt them so many times this season and almost haunt them other times where teams have come down and almost hit the field goal to tie or win. So, the 42 seconds is a ton of time and never amount of time to feel confident about in the CFL.
RJ, I think what really, is another punch in the gut is that, you had some injuries to the offensive line, to your top returner, and you've kind of went over it. You got through these injuries. You fought through some of the negative plays and the coming backs of Montreal. Everything went your way, and yet you're going home on the train thinking, what happened?
Yeah, it's funny when you look back at a football game and decisions, you can always second guess. And early on from the Montreal 7, Tiger Cats went for it. They didn't get it. Could have kicked a 3 there. As it turned out, 1-point football game. That may have been a big difference. Seth Small had been on such a streak, an uncharacteristic miss from him. Like, there were points left on the table. You're right, Bubba. The injuries just keep piling up. Coulter Woodmansey, that's tough to come in at center. And an errant snap, that really pushed the Tiger Cats back at one point. So there's so many things you can second guess. And a couple of snaps, but that's a tough spot for Woodmansey to come in. But as it turned out, you think back, man, if they had kicked that field goal from the Montreal 7, maybe it would have been different. I like the call. I think Coach O made the right call there, trying for the touchdown, get as many points as you can. It was early in the game, but when there's a 1-point loss, you look at what could have been.
And RJ, we're going to also go back and look at that 3rd and 1, right?
Yeah.
Because when you decide to go for it on the 3rd and 7 there, and then also get back into that same area and go for the 3rd and decide to kick a field goal on that 3rd and 1. The CFL, you see these 3rd and 1s converted all the time, and Newman's been doing a great job at converting them.
Yep.
You're always looking for points, right? Right now in this game, you're looking for 1 point, and maybe that's it.
Well, folks, we have exclusive access to the coaching room. Time to check in with Coach O as presented by Access Storage. Coach, again, we've talked to you with some of these tough losses, and I don't know, how do you assess this one? How do you feel about this one at the end?
Terrible.
What happened out there in the end in terms of the defense trying to control Trevor Harris on that final drive? Was it a breakdown situation, or did Montreal just make the right plays?
Well, when we pressure, we got to find a way to wrap them up and make them try to get, they just got in field goal range too quick. That's what it was. They made a couple of plays, and that's it.
Tough one. I feel for you guys out there, but can you just talk a little bit about Matthew Schultz? And, I thought he was doing an awesome job, especially early on, Just a little positive stuff about Matthew Schultz and what he showed out there, a little different characteristic of breaking down the offense and getting the ball out.
Yeah, I think, he battled. He's just a tough competitor. And, he stood in there and made some throws. A couple of them, we got to find a way to make those plays for him, late in the game. But, there's going to be a few throws that he'd want back, but I thought he had control. He seemed comfortable. I thought the O-line did a decent job. They threw a bunch of looks at us, and I didn't feel like it was too big for him.
Coach, Lawrence Woods went down late in the game there. One of the least productive games the return teams have had. How's he doing? And is there any insight on the injury right now?
Yeah, we wouldn't disclose that, but he wasn't able to finish the game. He's a tough customer. They did a great job on their cover teams, but I thought he did a great job of taking care of the ball and making good decisions back there.
Hey, it's RJ. Just wondering, in a game like this, and maybe it's too fresh to be able to answer this, but is there a play or two where it could have made a difference?
Yeah, well, there's all kind of plays throughout the game that could have helped this outcome. If we're talking about the plays late, we had some unfortunate snaps with a change at center late in the game. I think we had a manageable ball that on a second and really long, I thought we could have came down with, and of course just the defensive plays at the end. Just got to find a way to make those, and it's the CFL, and you got to play every minute and every second. And tonight was no different.
Coach, the opening drive where you decided to go for it on third down and goal, was that just wanting to be aggressive and to start the game?
Yeah, well, the football team was aware of what we were going to do, and we made a commitment that we were going to try to score touchdowns. We were down there, and that's just following through on what we talked about.
Okay, so then, with that 3rd and 1, when you decide to take the points there, was that just kind of a get points out, the long 3rd and 1 situation where, the sneak might be a little more risky?
I think it was closer to 3rd and 2.
Yeah.
If it was 3rd and 1, we'd have went for it.
All right, Coach. Thank you so much. Again, a tough one, and the province of Quebec, again, I don't know how you get over these ones, but you have to move on. Toronto up next. These games are so important. We look forward to chatting with you a little bit later in the week. Have a safe ride home.
Great. Thank you.
Again, what do you say? Tough one for the coach. I mean, he's got to be scratching his head, guys, at the sense of, they haven't been blown out all season long. This is the crazy thing. If this team is now, 3-7, and you're saying to yourself, this is a bad football team if you're 3-7, and then you look at the scores, and Andy, you're shaking your head, going, what's going wrong with this team? It's unbelievable. And you ought to give the credit to the other team as well too. Montreal went out there and executed when it was important, but on the Hamilton side of things, you've got to wonder, is this bad luck?
Well, it seems like everybody's taking turns, making the mistake, making the error. And it's inches away, but football is a game of inches. And you can look at a number of plays, like you always can in this game, that maybe you would make a different call. Maybe you would just, if you execute that one specific play, it's a completely different outcome. But this one, to me, hurts a lot because of the undiscipline in Montreal, almost trying to give the game away and still coming out on top. This is one that really, really stings because of that.
And Andy, it's wild to see that when you say about these mistakes happening, it's, not just offense and defense, or not just defense and special teams. It's really all 3 phases. Everybody's kind of taking their turns, and at some point, not everybody can take a turn. There's got to be at least one phase, I think, that has to just play a really good game and limit those mistakes, right? But you look at the special teams with the no yards where they could add the fumble, right? The defense giving up a couple of those drives at the end with the missed tackles, and then the offense just not executing at the end. It's all 3, which is frustrating.
Let's go back down to the locker room and connect with our player interview here. This exclusive post-game interview is presented by Access Storage. We're going to talk to Tim White. 11 receptions, 145 yards, a couple trips to the end zone, Tim. I know you love the personal stats. Who doesn't? But I'm sure these victories would have been, you would have exchanged all those numbers for the win.
Yes, 100%. There's no victory, with a losing effort. So, we just want to get back to the drawing board and continue to fight.
Yeah, Tim, awesome game out there. You did everything you could. You battled. When you look at this, maybe just from the offensive perspective, what do you guys need to be better at to be able to end up in the W column? Because its margin of error is so small here, right?
Yes, extremely small. We gotta be locked into the details. Can't have penalties. Can't turn the ball over. And I feel like we took a large step forward overall, and I think that we can work off of that. But we just got to execute when matters. When the moment is big, we got to execute and find a way to win.
Tim, you had to fill in for Lawrence Woods late in the game there, and kind of had a long lateral return. Then they threw a short pass to you. Then they threw another pass where you lost your shoe, and then they went through another pass to you. Were you gassed on that in that series right there?
I actually found a little bit of energy during that time. Found energy. I felt pretty good, and just wanted to try to get the win. That was motivating me out there.
Tim, it's RJ here. You seem to really have a chemistry going with Matt Schultz. You were targeted a lot. You caught a lot of passes. Just talk about that chemistry.
Yeah, I just think at the end of the day we want to win, and he just knows, that I want to win really bad, and I could see it in his face. I could see it in his effort, and obviously we have really good chemistry right now. We just look to build off of that and get wins off of it and just move forward with it.
Tim, last one here. I mean, again, this team's now 3-7, and these 7 losses. You could do the amount of points that you've lost by, and it's just that slim margin, as we said. And how does this feel? You guys are so close. You haven't been blown out all season long. How do you get back to work tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to show back up, and you got to do it with confidence. I think we got to continue to get harder as a team. In tough times like this, we got to continue to grow harder. We got to get better at executing, and I think we will. I think the seven losses, you look at it and, it hurts. And I think that should fuel us, moving forward. And we still have an opportunity, so we can't count ourselves out based off of 7 losses. We have to continue to march forward and embrace this opportunity.
Tim, thanks so much for joining us. I know this has been a tough one for you. I look forward to seeing you at practice, and have a safe ride back home, back to Hamilton.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Tim White, 11 receptions, 14 targets, 147 yards, longest going 87. 13.2 a catch, 2 touchdowns, guys.
Massive.
If there's a massive game by Tim White, and I know that we've all been saying that, a couple of games ago that we maybe could see a little bit more out of Tim White. And from the positional standpoint, Andy, good to see him break through. Maybe his confidence level rises, and the trust also to throw him the ball is certainly there.
Yeah, I saw him attacking the football a little more tonight, and really wanting, having that desire to make the play. There was one play I know he wants back on that 2nd and 10 there where Coach O challenged the interference. He would have loved to make the play on that one, but other than that, he played a pretty solid game throughout.
Talking about solid games, our performer of the game, we're going to give it to the quarterback, Matthew Schultz. 27 out of 39, completing 69% of his passes, 303 yards, 2 touchdowns, no mistakes, guys. He is our performer of the game, as presented by Hercules Tire, ride in our strength. And I know we had a tough one there because we thought Timmy had a great game as well too. But Mike, I thought that Matthew Schultz showed a control in the huddle, a control of the game. We talked about early that it wasn't so much of the Matt Schultz package stuff. It was attack-style football.
Yeah, it was, the typical quarterback stuff that you see of, him dropping back and reading the defense and delivering it to the right receiver. And he was doing an awesome job standing in there, delivering it to the proper guy, just taking what was there and really having some big-time throws to some of these guys. The touchdown where he threw to Tim White was unbelievable because that's where he showed his athletic ability. And Andy called it Houdini-like, and it really was. He ended up spinning out of there and delivered such a nice ball on the run. It's really nice to see this step in Matthew Schultz's progression because, it just kind of gives you a little bit more ease with Dane being out and, the trajectory of this offense as Matthew Schultz stays in there.
Yeah, I liked how they gave him the regular package, the same package Dane Evans would have had. You don't want to be running Matt Schultz when he's your QB1 the way you're running when he's your QB2 and coming in to spell Dane Evans. You got to keep him healthy as well, and also you're looking for improvement throughout the season. So you got to give him all the plays so that when it comes crunch time in the playoffs, you can deliver all those throws. You can make all the plays if he's the guy that is behind center at that point in time.
Schultz really wanted this one. You just knew against his former club, so that will doubly hurt because he did perform really well. 7 losses now, 4 of those have been by 5 points or less. So you look back, but then you can make an argument like the Ottawa game. Lewis Ward had a chance to win with a field goal at the end of the game. He missed that. That could have not gone the Tiger Cats' way, and David Cote hits in this game. But to be able to not put yourself in these situations, I liked what Coach O said. You have to go for touchdowns. And Tiger Cats have been criticized, not capitalizing in the red zone. So they get there and try to get as many points as they could. And, I mean, there's a play that had they got a touchdown, we wouldn't be on this topic right now if they had been able to convert that. But now with a 1-point loss, you look at points what could have been.
Yeah, I liked the offensive decisions. The one that kind of bothers me is not taking a safety there late in the game up by 6 and kicking it. You know, what's the difference of being up by 6 or up by 4 at that point, really, for possibly 30, 40 yards of field position? So that's one that I have a question. And then, Mike, I want to ask you, I mean, 42 seconds left, or I guess there's a little bit left after the kickoff, but do you go into your prevent style or do you just keep playing the game? I mean, I hate seeing that. We see it time and time again where you think, oh, it's melt the clock on defense, but in the CFL, I mean, a play takes 7, 8 seconds, so you still got 4 or 5 plays. You only need 30 yards. I mean, don't you just play your regular defense and you know that you've been playing all game long?
Yeah, and I think you do, because the thing is the clock stops in the last 3 minutes. When they get it stops. So really, when you look at it, it doesn't look like much time on the clock, but it seems like forever, right? And I liked what Mark Washington did. So he gets into prevent, right? There was an opportunity to sack Trevor Harris on that first play, right? It just didn't. He ended up escaping, which was kind of the story of the game. When he would escape, there was big plays that happened, and he escaped, gets a first down, and then the switch up to all-out pressure, like we said, he's just got to make that tackle right there. As soon as Geno Lewis catches that ball, they got to make that tackle, keep him right there, and force him to make another play. So it's one of those, you know, damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? And we had an opportunity to sack Trevor Harris on that first play, need to make the tackle on the second play. It just seems like that with the Ticats, the execution at the end is frustrating.
Yeah, especially with a 1 point. Everybody's a genius now because you know what they could have done to get it more points. But at the time, you have to go with what decision you feel is right at the time.
Well, okay, sorry.
And the thing that's going to be frustrating, Andy, you touched on a little bit, is Montreal's penalties. 14 for 176. Which is huge. And when you look at that, you're like, awesome. The Ticats would for sure win. But then the Ticats followed up with 11 for 145. So it's this missed opportunity, not only offense, defense, special teams, but in the penalty margin too, where you just you almost let them off the hook with a couple of the roughing the kickers, and it's frustrating.
Time for you guys to put your genius hats on right now, okay? Now, I mean, let's look forward now. We've only got a couple of minutes left. The Argonauts are up next. Another divisional game. So crucial. 4-point contest. On the road again. Maybe not a hostile environment as much as this one was. That crowd was really rocking there in the last couple of minutes. Who's the starting quarterback for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, RJ?
Ooh, boy.
Dane was on the sidelines. We could see shots. I mean, he was healthy.
Yeah, it's a good question. I thought Matthew Schultz was really good. I don't fault Matthew Schultz at all. If Dane's your guy, you probably have to go back to him. Personally, I like what I've seen from Matthew Schultz the last 2 games. I mean, I would let Dane try to get a little healthier, get to 100%. If he is 100%, if Dane's your guy, he's got to be your guy.
Yeah, I feel the same way. If Dane's your guy and he's healthy, you got to put him in there. That doesn't mean you can't still have a package with Matthew Schultz. You can't still sprinkle him in. Certainly give him some time in games. But if Dane's 100%, put him in. If he's not 100%, I'm with you, RJ. I mean, just let's go with Matthew Schultz. He hasn't done anything to lose the job at this point.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think that, Matthew Schultz has shown that he can carry this team and let Dane heal up if he needs to, make sure he's absolutely 100%. But I agree. Dane started as your guy. His play has been, far and above one of the best in the CFL in terms of yards and getting that offense moving. So you got to go back to Dane.
What do you think, Bubba?
I don't answer these questions. I just throw them out to you.
See how hard it is to be a coach and make these decisions? It's hard. It's a hard decision.
I don't want anyone coming back at me. No way. Well, speaking of coming back, let's review Andy's car start 3 keys to the game. And Andy, I think you hit the nail on a couple of them. Point one
was pass protection. And I thought both teams did a pretty good job of protecting their quarterback and allowing their offense to flow freely. There were sacks were 2-1 for Hamilton, so I got to give the nod to Hamilton on that. But it was pretty close on that one.
Number two was 2-and-out drives, and Hamilton had 1 less than Montreal in this game. Montreal had 2 and Hamilton had 1, so just a slight margin there. Again, just very close both ways, but they came out on top.
So Tiger Cats had just 1 2-0.
Just 1 2-0 today.
For the team that's done the most in the season. Yeah. I mean, again, another credit to Matthew Schultz and execution of that offense. Number three was the turnover battle, and it was 1-1. Cam Kelly had to pick on the first drive of the game for the Montreal Alouettes on the goal line, and then Hamilton went down and turned it over on downs on the other goal line. So 2 turnovers in the first few minutes of the game, and then there was nothing after that. So that one's a wash. So pretty tight 3 keys to victory this game for a 1-point game. Nice job, guys. Again, let's look forward to what comes up on Friday in Toronto. I hate to say this, guys, 3-7, and we've come up with a million things to try and figure out what's wrong with the Tiger Cats and how close they are. But, Mike, they're kind of running out of time now. I hate saying this, but it's true. Run out of games.
Yeah, and, you've said it a bunch of times, and before Labor Day to be in this situation, right? It's always talked about after Labor Day is when the real playoffs start, and after Labor Day is when the real regular season is really firing up. But the time is now for the Ticats, and this game against the Argos coming up, you don't want to say must win this early, but with the way the East is shaping out, it's getting pretty close.
There's going to be a crossover this year.
Yeah, there is for sure.
Yeah.
And usually Labor Day's, your 9th game of the year, not your 12th game of the year, because the season schedule moved up. Usually you have a stretch of the East teams at the end of the year. Now it's in the middle of the season. So really, these next 2 games against Toronto are critical.
I'm going to say it, guys. It's a must-win. They both are. they have to win both of those. And if you look back at the Tiger Cats' wins this season, they've all been very important times. Winless against Ottawa. If they had gone 0-5, who knows how they would have bounced back, even psychologically going 0-5. The Montreal win was big at the time. The Toronto win last week was big. And now these 2 games against Toronto, because then they have Winnipeg after that, another game against Montreal. So I'm saying it, Tiger Cats, let's hope they get healthy in a few positions. They had some major injuries, but they have to win these 2 games against Toronto, win that season series, and put them in a better spot in the East.
Last one to you there, Andy. Like, again, a loss like this, I mean, we said this all season. Does it motivate you? Does it make you angry? Like, how do you come out the next week fired up?
Oh, I'm disappointed for these guys. It's just been a roller coaster of emotions. They get so high and confident after the wins and defeated after the losses. I mean, I think the team staying overnight in Montreal, which has never happened in my tenure.
Yeah.
And afternoon game. It's a beautiful summer night. Coming off a win, it would been so nice to walk around and have dinner downtown Montreal tonight with your buddies, your teammates. Geez, I feel for these guys. So it's going to be somber, but they got to find a way to kind of flip the switch, flush it down, and focus on Toronto. And like you said, get 2 out of 2 coming up to Labor Day.
Yeah, and that's almost like a double loss in that situation, Andy, because you're right. We never got to stay over in Montreal, and now it would have been a little nicer with a win and be able to stay in Montreal. But I think, like Tim said, there is a lot of things that are positive about this Ticats offense, especially, and on the defense. There's a lot to look forward to that you can build on.
David Cote nails a 48-yard field goal with no time left on the clock. Montreal Alouettes 29, Hamilton Tiger Cats 28. Thank you for listening, Ticats Nation. For Mike Daly, RJ Broadhead, and Andy Fantuz, I'm Bubba O'Neill. We are back next Friday, 6:30. The Ticats head to Toronto for Game 3 against those rascally Argos. Join us with the Tiger Cats pregame as presented by Journey Rewards on the Ticats Audio Network.